I am encouraged. Today's we read this topic touring band and climate change. Okay, I will choose the speed slow one. Okay, I am ready. Set go. Hello, this is 6 Minute English from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil and I'm Love. Love, I've been reading about way to protect the environment and I've decided to Erasmus and I maybe drive my car less too. I will go for you, Nels. I'm flying this can also help reduce air pollution. Right, flight and driving less are two good ways to combat climate change because they reduce your carbon footprint. That's the amount of carbon dioxide or CO2 released into the atmosphere as a result of your everyday activities. The idea of reduced carbon emission is creating on the musical industry too. Bands and artists who go on tour around the world generate large carbon footprints. So recently, some music groups like Massive Attacks and Green Days start thinking about ways to reduce the impact their tours are having on environment. Hi, Green Days were a good name of folk bands trying to be environmental friendly. Today, we are finding out about bands and musicians who wants to continue going on tours, but do it ways which reduce the environmental impact. And of course, we'll be learning some related vocabulary on the way. So it seems like the way of Black North stars flying around the world in a private jet may soon be a thing of the past in their lives. And that brings me neatly to my quiz questions. One participant recently announced they would stop going on tour until they was 100% carbon neutral, but which band? Was it A, the 1975, B, the Rolling Stone, or C, a Coldplay? Well, Coldplay had a hit with their songs Scientist, and we are talking about carbon dioxide and the climate, so I'll say C, Coldplay. Good thinking, loves. You'll find out the answer later. But first, let's hear from another artist concerned about the carbon impact. Faye Merton is the drummer of the band Savages and co-founder of the Climate Precious Groups. Music declares emergency. She spoke to BBC Radio 4's programs You and Yours. This year, I have actually turned down a tour. My income comes from touring, so he was put me in those situations. Actually, feel quite good about it. Is feel like the right thing to do this moment. Even though pale runs are living on the drummers going on tour, she has started to turn them down, so meaning to reject or refuse the offer touring. Losing the income she usually get from touring put Pei in a precarious situation, a situation where things could become difficult. In this case, financial difficult because she isn't making money from paying the drums, but she still wants to do the right thing. In other words, do what is most fair, ethical, and just. For Faye, fighting climate change is even more important than doing what she loves, going on a tour with the band. Well, good for her. I'm not sure if I'd so committed as Faith, but if bands stopped touring altogether, fans wouldn't get to see gig or live concert and hear the music they love. Well, that's an interesting point because it might be possible for fans to carry on touring and also reduce their environmental impact at the same time. Bristol Band's Massive Attacks wants to do exactly that. Their singer Robert Meyer explains. We're working with an electric bus company, so we're going to look at the synergy things, renewables and availability of the powers create will go to the grid. We can actually create legacy green infrastructures which can power future vehicles. We plan to travel to Europe solely by trains with the band, the crew, and all the gear. Swapping to planes for trains and encouraging fans to travel to gigs by bus are two good ways to reduce the total carbon footprint of the concert. And by using renewable energy, the gigs can create power. This can then be put back into the national grid, called the grid for short. The network supplying electrical power across the country, whereas massive attacks are certainly taking all the green boxes snares, but who else is doing a good job? Remember your quiz question earlier? Oh yes, I asked which boundaries decided to stop storing until their tools were carbon neutral, and you said, I said Coldplay. And you were right. Are you a Coldplay fan, love? Just remember to leave your car at home the next time you go to the gigs. Right, today's we're looking at some of the ways music bands and artists are trying to fight climate change. The ones who reduce the carbon footprint, the amount of the carbons they release into the air. Some musicians are starting to turn down or feels long world through this because I'm flying from country to country playing in gigs or live musical concerts generate so much carbon dioxide. And bands like Savage, Green Days, and Massive Attacks are trying to do the right things, taking the most fair and ethical course of action, even though for some artists income lost from not touring put them in a precarious or difficult situation. When they get in rice can be carbon neutral or even generate power which can be put back into the national grid, the network supplying electric power across the country, all of which we can keep on rocking into the next century without increasing carbon emissions and adding to the climate change. So, love, you could say you were born to the lungs on renewable energy. Very fun, Nels. That's all for today. So remember to join us again soon for more topical discussions and vocabulary from 6-Minute English here at BBC Learning English. Thanks for listening and bye. Bye bye. Okay, I will finish this slow version. I will next. I will standard here. Hello, this is English from BBC Learning English. I'm Nels and Loves. I've been reading about ways to protect the environment and I decided to less maybe driving car less too. Good for your lanes and flying less can also help reduce air pollution. Right, flying and driving less are two good ways to combat climate change because they reduce your carbon footprint. That's the amount of carbon dioxide or CO2 released into the atmosphere as a result of your everyday activities. The idea of reducing your carbon emission is catching on the musical industry too. Band artists who go on tour around the world generate large carbon footprints. So recently, some music groups like Massive Attacks and Green Days are started thinking about what ways to reduce the impact their tours are having on the environment. Hi, Green Days was a good name for bands trying to be environmental friendly. Today, you're finding out about bands musical who wants to continue to go on tours but with ways to reduce their environmental impact. And of course, we're learning some related vocabularies on the way. So it seems like the day of slugs and roosters flying around the world in private jet may soon be the thing of the past in their lives and bring me neatly to my quiz question. One British band is announced by they will stop going on tour until they were 100% carbon neutral, but which band? Was it A, the 1971, 5, B, the Rolling Stones, C, Coldplay? Where Coldplay had hit with their songs of scientists, and we are talking about carbon dioxide and the climate, so I'll say C, Coldplay. Good thinking loves you find our answers later, but first let's hear from another artist concerned about her carbon impact. Ben Merton is the drummers of the Balance of Ages and the co-founders of the Climate Pressure Group. Music declares the emergency. She spoke to BBC Radio for programs you and yours. This year, I have actually turned down the tour. Mm, my income comes from stories, so it has put me a bit of practical situation. I actually feels quite good. Feels like the things right into these moments. Even those fake runs or live drummers going on the tour, she started to turn them down, so didn't reject or refuse or post. Losing the income she using get from touring, for face in a precarious situation, a situation where things could become difficult. In this case, financial difficult because she wasn't making money from playing drums, but still wants to do the right things. In other words, to what is most fair, ethical, or just. For Faith, I think climate change is more important than doing what she loves, going on tours plan. Well, good for her. So I'm not sure if I'd be so committed so as face fans start touring altogether. Fans would get the gigs. I love concert and they hear the music they love. Well, that's an interesting point because it might be crucial for the bands to carry on touring and also reduce their environmental impact at the same time. First, the band Massive Attacks wants to do exactly that. Like singers Robert Demaya explains, working with an electric bus company, so they're going to look at the renewable and the credible grace. We can actually create like a screen structure which can then power future gigs. We plans to travel to Europe solely by trains with the band, the cruise and the swapping tour plans for trains and encouraging friends gigs by bus. Two good ways to reduce the total carbon of the footprint of concern. And by using renewable energy, the gig can create power. This can then be put back into the national grid, called the grid for short. The network supplying electric power across country, where massive attacks are certainly taking all the green boxes near, but who else doing good jobs? Remember we killed question earlier? I asked which bands decided to stop touring until their tours were carbon neutral and you said, I said see Coldplay. And you were right, and you Coldplay fan love. Just remember to read your car at home next time someone of their guests right. Today we have been looking at some music bands and artists are trying to fight climate change. They want to reduce their carbon footprint. How much of carbon they release into the air? Some musicians are starting to turn down or fuels long or short days because of flying countries from countries playing real concert generates so much carbon dioxide. Bands like Savage, Green Days of Massive Attacks are trying to do the right things, taking the most fierce and ethical course of actions. Even though some artists, the income lost from the not touring put them in the precarious of difficult situation. When they schedules right, bands can be neutral, even generate power which can be put back into the national grid. The network supplying electric power across the country. Which means we can keep on rocking into the next centuries without increasing carbon emission and adding to the climate change. So perhaps you could say we were born to learn some renewable energy. Ah, very funny news. Thanks. That's all for you today. So remember, join us soon against more topic discussion and vocabulary from 6-Minute English here at BBC Learning English. Thanks for listening and bye. Bye bye. Okay, bye bye.